Number 15, 2010-11. Klopp's kids make noise. The moment Borussia Dortmund shook up German football like a rock star at a village concert. Under Jurgen Klopp, BVB played a brand of football that was not only effective, but electrifying, thanks to a wild mix of teenage talent and tactical pressing. Mario Götze was just 18 and played like he'd already earned 100 international caps. Nuri Sahin pulled the strings in midfield, Lucas Barrios scored like clockwork, and Mats Hummels defended with the calm of a Zen monk. Bayer Leverkusen came second, and all of Germany wondered, what on earth happened to Bayern? The reigning champions never truly found their rhythm and ended the season third with 65 points, a whole 10 behind the new champs. In Munich, the Louis van Gaal experiment ended early in April. St. Pauli and Frankfurt bid farewell to the league, while Borussia Mönchengladbach celebrated survival via the playoff. But the big story belonged to Dortmund. They were young, wild, and above all, championship material. Number 14, 2011-12. Klopp's coronation. The season in which Borussia Dortmund turned the surprise egg of the previous season into a real masterpiece. Mario Götze was out injured for a long time, but a certain Shinji Kagawa stepped out of the shadows and dazzled the league with his footballing intelligence. Robert Lewandowski? He took over from Barrios and finished like a seasoned poacher. And at the back, Mats Hummels and Neven Subotic, a duo straight out of a defender's handbook. Dortmund collected an unbelievable 81 points, a new Bundesliga record. And that in a season where many thought Bayern would strike back. Instead, Munich, this time with Heynckes on the sidelines, ended up only in second again. A triple second place loomed in the league, cup, and Champions League. In the cup final, Bayern were demolished by BVB 5-2, with Lewandowski scoring a hat trick. This wasn't a power shift anymore. This was a demonstration. At the bottom, Cologne and Kaiserslautern went down. Hertha, finishing 16th, lost the playoff to Fortuna Düsseldorf in a scandal-ridden match with long delays due to fan disturbances. Number 13, 2012-13. Bayern's masterpiece. After 2 years of BVB dominance, Bayern had had enough, and under coach Jupp Heynckes, they made the Bundesliga feel the full force of their frustration. Clinical finishing, ruthless pressing, organized like clockwork. 91 points, only one loss. Earliest title win in history. This wasn't a season, it was a campaign. Ribéry danced through defenses like a hamster on speed. Thomas Müller was everywhere at once. And new signing Mandzukic scored so regularly, you'd think it was a chore. Bastian Schweinsteiger pulled the strings in midfield, while a certain Dante became a defensive rock. The league, done. The cup, bagged as well. And in Europe, the cherry on top. In Wembley, the historic showdown. Dortmund versus Bayern. Klopp versus Heynckes. A final the Bundesliga had never seen before. And Arjen Robben, long mocked for missed chances, finally wrote his own happy ending. 2-1 to Bayern, the treble was complete. And Heynckes, he bowed out with a masterpiece that still hangs in gold in the club's history. After Düsseldorf sensationally got promoted the season before, their Bundesliga adventure ended after just 1 year. Greuther Fürth also went down, while Hoffenheim survived the playoff after a poor season. Number 12, 2013-14. Pep's Pass Ballet. After the treble came Guardiola. The hype was huge tactical wizardry, positional play, false nine, and a playbook thicker than the Bible. But Pep didn't disappoint. Bayern remained a monster under his leadership, just more elegant. Less brute force, more tiki-taka with German precision. The league title was a walk in the park, 90 points, only 2 losses again, and clinched with 6 match days to go. Title number 24, check. And Dortmund managed to finish second with 71 points. Lewandowski said farewell with 20 goals as he headed to Munich. Klopp began working on the next attempt with Royce, Mkhitaryan, and Aubameyang. At the bottom, Nuremberg and Eintracht Braunschweig were relegated without much of a fight. Even the Bundesliga dinosaur HSV started to struggle from this season on. They finished 16th but survived the playoff and stayed in the Bundesliga. Number 11, 2014-15. Bayern in control mode. The question of the champion was answered early again. Bayern Munich no longer played like a whirlwind, more like a clockwork machine with a built-in resting pulse. Pep Guardiola's team dominated matches like they had an exclusive contract with the ball. No fireworks, just pure control. 79 points were easily enough for their third straight title. Lewandowski, freshly poached from rivals Dortmund, integrated seamlessly and began his first big season in a Bayern shirt. Robin stayed Robin, unpredictable for opponents, predictable for fans. While everyone else tried to keep up, Bayern often looked like they were playing in a league of their own. Behind them, the race for Champions League spots was much more exciting. Wolfsburg, with strong team spirit and quick transitions, came second. Gladbach secured third. And Dortmund, after a disastrous first half, they were bottom of the table for a while. Klopp stumbled, but BVB recovered and finished seventh. Freiburg and Paderborn's Bundesliga adventures ended, and HSV once again secured survival in the playoffs. Number 10, 2015-16. Pep Guardiola's final Bundesliga season at Bayern felt like a farewell tour with built-in results. No chaos, no nerves, just a precisely timed machine collecting 3 points week after week. With 88 points, Bayern won their fourth consecutive title, a record. In the second half of the season, they hardly slipped up even if it didn't always look like fun. Efficiency beat spectacle, at least in the South. Robert Lewandowski was the face of that efficiency. 30 goals, including his legendary 5-goal blitz in 9 minutes against Wolfsburg. Miller delivered as usual, and defensively, the team was a fortress. The real excitement came from behind. Borussia Dortmund, under Thomas Tuchel, made an impressive return. With 78 points, BVB posted the second-best season in their history and still had no real chance at the title. Rios, Mkhitaryan, Aubameyang. Offensive fireworks were guaranteed, but against Bayern's consistency, no chance. Hannover and Stuttgart, two big names, were relegated. Frankfurt saved themselves in the relegation playoff. Number 9, 2016-17. The league tries to catch up. After Pep's departure, Carlo Ancelotti took over in Munich, and the Italian didn't really change much at first. Bayern remained Bayern, dominant, pragmatic, almost routine in winning. No tactical overload, no philosophical revolution. Just experience, control, and again, first place. With 82 points, the title was never truly in danger. Lewandowski hit 30 goals again, Thiago flourished in midfield, and Arjen Robben showed that his trademark move was still unstoppable, even if everyone knew it was coming. But the big picture, it felt almost businesslike. Winning the title had become the norm. Behind Bayern, Leipzig was the story of the season. The newly promoted side shook things up, ran, pressed, provoked, and finished as runners-up with 67 points. Timo Werner exploded. Ralph Hasenhüttl became a hipster favorite on the bench, and even Bayern had to admit that was fresh. Dortmund grabbed third, but were mainly busy with internal drama. Tuchel's team was strong, but things simmered behind the scenes. Darmstadt and Ingolstadt were relegated, while the battle for the playoff spot came down to the final match day. Mainz and Wolfsburg ended level on points. HSV and Augsburg survived by a single point. Due to goal difference, Wolfsburg went into the playoffs but managed to stay up. Number 8, 2017-18. The Dino Falls. It had to happen eventually, and in 2017-18, it did. HSV, the Bundesliga's last remaining founding member, was relegated. After years of teetering between playoffs, last-minute rescues, and chaos at all levels, there was no clock, no miracle, no La Soga header to save them. On matchday 34, it was official. The Bundesliga clock at Volkspark Stadion stopped, and with it, an era. Sportingly, it went downhill early. Coaching changes, locker room rumors, poor squad planning, classic HSV bingo. Cologne also bowed out despite a brave finish, and Wolfsburg once again had to go to the playoff, which they survived. The relegation fight was a thriller as always, but this time with a historic victim. And at the top, Bayern went about their business alone again. First Ancelotti, then Henkes, but the result was the same: championship. With 84 points and a 21-point lead, the record champions played in their own league. Schalke surprised as runners-up. Hoffenheim and Dortmund secured the other Champions League spots, the latter with more coaching changes than highlights. Number 7, 2018-19. Bayern stumbled to the title. After years of dominance, it suddenly got exciting again. Really exciting. The 2018-19 season brought a title race that truly deserved the name. Borussia Dortmund, under Lucien Favre, came out of the gates like a fire truck, played with freedom, and looked ready to finally dethrone Bayern. Rios in top form, Sancho a teenage sensation, and Alcacer as a super sub with a built-in goal subscription. BVB looked ready. But then came the slip. While Dortmund dropped points in spring, Bayern, under Niko Kovac, picked up the pace. Not elegant, not perfect, but full of experience, physicality, and Lewandowski, who again delivered 22 goals. In the end, it was neck and neck. Bayern collected 78 points, Dortmund 76. Just 2 measly points made the difference. And even the title itself felt different. Less triumph, more relief. The dominance was there, but not as self-evident anymore. FC Bayern stayed champions for the 7th time in a row, but the gap visibly shrank. Hanover and Nuremberg dropped to the 2nd tier, while VfB Stuttgart managed to reach the relegation playoff, only to lose to Union Berlin, who celebrated their first ever Bundesliga promotion. Leipzig comfortably claimed 3rd, Leverkusen sneaked into the top 4. Number 6, 2019-20. Bayern become Bayern again. This was the season where Bayern wobbled briefly and then swept away all doubts like an autumn storm in a title fight. The first match days under Niko Kovac were shaky, league lead, nowhere in sight. After a 5-1 thrashing by Frankfurt, Kovac was out and Hansi Flick stepped in. An assistant, a caretaker, many thought, but he ended up becoming the architect of a new Bayern self-image. With Flick's arrival came an immediate turnaround. Bayern suddenly played like champions again, direct, purposeful, brutally efficient. Lewandowski scored on a conveyor belt, finishing the season with 34, and Thomas Müller experienced a second spring as an assist machine with built-in radar. The rest of the league watched in awe and got steamrolled. 82 points, a dominant title yet again. Dortmund kept up for a while, with Sancho and Haaland delivering fireworks, but in terms of consistency, they couldn't match Bayern. Leipzig were modern and uncomfortable. Gladbach flirted with the Champions League spots. Bremen just barely saved themselves in the playoff. Paderborn bowed out with courage, but too little quality. Düsseldorf went down as well. Too many draws, not enough punch. Number 5, 2020-21. The record man rules. Corona stadiums, empty stands, ghost games. This Bundesliga season often felt like a beta test for a football video game. But one man seemed completely unfazed, Robert Lewandowski. The Pole played a season for the history books and, on the final match day, actually broke Gerd Müller's eternal record. 41 goals. 44 years untouched, and then came Louis, smiled politely, and made history. Bayern became champions as expected for the 9th time in a row. With 78 points, it wasn't outstanding, but it was enough. And as so often, when it mattered, they delivered. Müller assisted, Kimmich orchestrated, Neuer saved, and the rest of the league asked for the 9th straight year. How are we supposed to catch up? Dortmund needed time to get going. Only under interim coach Aiden Terzic did BVB find their groove and still qualify for the Champions League. Leipzig spent a long time near the top, but couldn't keep up the pace. Wolfsburg were the steady force. Frankfurt just barely missed out on 4th. At the bottom of the table, it hit Schalke, and hard. Just 16 points, 4 coaches, internal chaos everywhere. The former runners-up crashed out of the league. Bremen went down 2 for the first time since 1980. Another traditional club, First FC Köln, had to play the playoff and secured survival after a 0-1 first-game loss with a furious 5-1 win in the second game against Holstein Kiel. Number 4, 2021-22. 10 is no coincidence. 10 championships in a row. At some point, it might seem like routine, but in the 2021-22 season, FC Bayern showed that even routine can still look impressive. 77 points were enough to clinch the title this time, not as dominant as in previous years, but still without any real doubt. In a season where much went right, though not everything sparkled, Bayern were simply too stable, too well drilled, too clever for the rest. Neuer, Müller, Kimmich, the foundation stood like a monument. The magic may have faded, but the structure remained solid. Maybe it was the breeze of change in the air. Maybe it was the slow end of the Lewandowski era. Dortmund again finished second with 69 points, but has so often struggled with injuries and inconsistency. Haaland scored when fit, Royce remained important, but consistency nowhere to be found. Leverkusen grabbed third with full-throttle attacking football, while Leipzig recovered from a weak first half of the season and finished fourth. Greuther Fürth found the Bundesliga a step too far, and Arminia Bielefeld also went down in the end. Stuttgart saved themselves at the very last second, literally sending Hertha BSC into the relegation playoff, which they won against Hamburger SV. Number 3, 2022-23, champions at the last second. This was the season when everything finally seemed different. Dortmund on top, Bayern wobbly, tension until the end, and then, in the end, Bayern again. 10 years of consecutive titles were already impressive, but this one, chaos with a happy ending. Or a bitter one depending on whether you wear black and yellow or red and white. Borussia Dortmund had it in their own hands. One win on the final match day against Mainz, that's all it would have taken. But suddenly, nerves were bigger than the Westfalenstadion. Just 2-2, despite a late comeback, despite a packed stadium. Bayern won in Cologne at the same time, with a goal by Jamal Musiala in the 88th minute, and because they had the better goal difference, they snatched the title at the very last moment. 71 points each, but the trophy went to Munich. Again. And this was far from a stellar season for Bayern. Julian Nagelsmann was sacked in March, Thomas Tuchel came in, and at first looked more like a firefighter without a hose. But in the end, it was enough, because Dortmund beat themselves. Once again, Leipzig finished third, Union Berlin made history by claiming fourth, Schalke and Hertha were relegated, and VfB Stuttgart secured their survival in the playoff against an alarmingly poor Hamburger SV. Number 2023-24, Leverkusen's masterpiece. In the 2023/24 Bundesliga season, Bayer 04 Leverkusen made history. Under head coach Xabi Alonso, the team remained unbeaten across all 34 league matches. 28 wins, 6 draws, 90 points. With a commanding 5-0 home win over Werder Bremen on matchday 29, Leverkusen secured their first-ever league title, ending FC Bayern Munich's 11-year title streak. The attack shone with 89 goals scored, while the defense conceded only 24. Victor Boniface led the team with 14 goals. Leverkusen also set a new European record by going 51 competitive matches unbeaten. VfB Stuttgart surprised everyone by finishing second with 73 points, while FC Bayern landed in third place with 72. Newly promoted First FC Heidenheim had a sensational debut Bundesliga season, qualifying directly for the UEFA Conference League. At the bottom of the table, FC Köln were relegated after a 1-4 defeat against Heidenheim. Darmstadt 98 also went down, while FC Köln only secured survival via the relegation playoff against Fortuna Düsseldorf. Number 1, 2024-25, Kane, Company, and the comeback. After a year without the league title, FC Bayern Munich made an emphatic return in the 2024-25 season. Under new manager Vincent Kompany, Bayern sealed the championship on matchday 32, the 34th title in the club's history. Harry Kane was the league's top scorer with 26 goals and celebrated the first major trophy of his career. Defending champions, Bayer Leverkusen started strong, but couldn't match Bayern's consistency and finished second. Eintracht Frankfurt and Borussia Dortmund rounded out the Champions League spots, with BVB securing fourth place on the final day thanks to a convincing win over Holstein Kiel. Given their turbulent and inconsistent season, Dortmund's qualification felt like a small miracle. At the bottom, Holstein Kiel and VfL Bochum were relegated to the second Bundesliga. First FC Heidenheim narrowly avoided the drop by winning their playoff against SV Elversberg. What is your favorite season? Comment down, and don't forget to like and share. Want to explore all current Premier League stadiums? Don't miss our latest video.